Hello, hello, hello. We only have a few more days till the New Year's. What do you guys do New Year's resolutions? I do New Year's goals every year. And I've really been thinking the last couple days about what I want my goals to be for 2018. I mean, I think we know it's just a given that I want to be in the best shape possible, but I say that every year. That's why I don't make New Year's resolutions, because then when I break it, I feel like I'm like, oh, well, you broke that one, you know? But I think that, like, is really what I want to make my goal for 2018, my main goal. And I was talking to my publisher today, and she was all excited about my book. And, so that's my second goal, is to get my next book out before 2018. It's looking like it's going to be the end of 2018 when it comes out. There's a lot of editing and stuff like that that has to happen. I know exactly what I want my cover to look like. But I need to find a, it's going to be a pencil drawing. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah. Weird year, you know, like so much has happened this year, it seems like. I was talking to Tanya last night and I was like, do you feel like this year has gone fast or gone slow? And she's like, oh, I feel like it's gone really fast. And I said, really? Like, I feel like it's gone kind of slow. Like, I feel like I had so many things that I did this year that I really, really enjoyed, you know? Like, I kind of wanted tomorrow to do like my year in review, so I think I'm going to do that tomorrow, not tonight. Tomorrow or the next night, I'm going to do like the year in review. But I like making goals. I like making goal lists, you know, to talk about like all the things I want to change in my life and all of the things I want to do with my life. Because if I don't put parameters around my life, if I don't put like boundaries of what I want to achieve, then I'll never achieve it. It's like saying, like, if you just get on the road and you go, oh, well, I want to go somewhere, well, I don't know where I want to go, right? Well, you could end up in Texas, or you could end up in Oklahoma, or you could end up in Florida, or you could end up in Vermont, you know, or Maine. And it's like, you have to have some kind of direction of where you're going. So goals allow us that. And I really like measurable goals as well. You know, like I want to lose 50 pounds, or I want to have my one book out by the end of the year, or I want to have written 2 books. You know, I want to write 2 books this year, or I want to put out my book of short stories this year. Not short stories, but my, you know, memoir stories this year, you know? Like, measurable goals are really good. Like, okay, by the end of January, I'm going to have 100 pages written. By the end of February, I'll have 200 pages written. And by the end of March, I'll have my book completed. Like, those kinds of measurable goals, I think, are really, really important. And that's really how I got my first book written. A lot of people ask me, they're like, would you do, like, a whole video on, like, I've got to turn the heat on. I'm afraid it's going to, like, overheat my camera, and then I'll have to turn my camera off. But it is so hot. It is so cold. You know, what I did was, honest to God, I got this idea from Brent Hardiger, because he was like, outline your book and it'll give you, like, boundaries. Okay, I don't even know what I was talking about. Goals, setting goals for the year. So, oh no, I was talking about how I wrote my book. So Brent Hardiger, who wrote the Russell Middlebrook series, which I love, it's one of my favorite series ever, and he's such a nice guy. He said, what I do is I write paragraphs out of like what I want to be in my book, and then I turn that into an outline. So like, you know, intro, or, you know, blah, 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 you know, Danny's brother is killed, because that's how my book starts. That's at the very beginning. And then go all the way through and just like, you know, write an outline, you know, like 1, ABC, 2, ABC. And he said, then from that, turn your outline into chapters. And he's like, if you turn your outline into chapters, then you just have a list of chapters to go from. And then from that, just start writing it and say, I'm going to write 4 chapters a day. And then if you go organically off of that, like other things will come out of that, like other relationships and stuff. So there's things in my book that I knew would be in there, like, well, how can I say this? like the last scene at their house that he grew up in, like I did not know that book that would be in there. What happens to Cher, I did not know that would be in the book. That just kind of organically came out of what I was writing. But like them going to the nightclub at the beginning and ending it up there, like I knew that was going to happen. I knew that I wanted to frame the book around this kind of nightclub, not nightclub, but under 21 club, you know? So I knew I was going to do that. And then I would just sit down every night and I would say, okay, I'm going to write like 3 chapters tonight. And I would write 3 chapters. And when I was done with those 3 chapters, I would go to bed. And then, you know, the next day I would say, okay, I'm going to write 3 chapters. And that was how I got it done. I think my book is like 34 chapters or 32 chapters or something like that. And I literally wrote the entire book in like 14 days. And I just stuck to my structure and wrote it, you know? And I've heard a lot of authors that have done that, and it's very easy to do. You don't buy one of these templates, these how to write a book deals programs. You don't need that. You just need to get, you know, a word processing tool on your computer, or paper, even if you want to write it on paper, and then just, you know, like outline it, turn that outline into chapters, and anybody can write a book. Like anybody can write a book. And that's how I feel very much about life too, you know, is like any goal that I have. And the problem like with the getting into healthy shape is that like I don't stick to my goals because I have such, you know, food issues and I'm such a food addict anyway, you know, that like I don't take care of that piece. And, you know, like a lot of times people ask me about cross addiction and it's like, my addictions go in other areas, but it really goes into food for me. And honestly, like food was an issue for me before drugs and alcohol ever were. And I've always had huge issues with food, like always. And, you know, I grew up in a family where food was celebratory, where food was how we, you know, like when there was sadness and funerals and stuff like that, food was how you commiserated over that. And, you know, food was a reward. So like, you know, if I did well, oh, we went out to dinner somewhere nice, you know, and if I was having a sad day, my mom would make me cookies. I mean, it was always a reward, you know? And so like, I have all of these emotional attachments to food, you know, and it's so, and this is something that I've worked a lot on in my 12-step program. And, you know, if you look at like Overeaters Anonymous, which I'm not a member of, but if you look at it and I've read their texts and their stories, you know, they believe in like having 3 square meals a day and they consider that eating appropriately, you know? But even that is hard for me to eat on some kind of structured diet, you know, like it's just all of it. The food stuff for me is so hard. It really, really is. And, it's one of the biggest struggles I've ever had in my entire life. Oh my God, that car is going like 90 miles an hour. It's one of the biggest struggles I've ever had in my entire life is my food issues, you know? And I hope that at some point, you know, I get it under control. We'll see. That's one of my major goals for 2018. And then, what are my other goals? Redo 1 room in my house for every 6 months. Because that's what Alex and I want to do, is redo our house. Oh, buy a washer and dryer, a new one. That's going to be the first thing I do in January, period. End of story. I'm buying a washer and dryer. Like ASAP. With quickness. We actually probably need to go like the 31st and go look, because a lot of people have sales, you know? So I'll go do that. It is so cold outside, but it's not as cold as it was yesterday. It says it's 18 degrees. I am still, you guys, I am like over 50% into that book, and it is still not anything to do with Christmas. I'm so over it. It's like summer in this stupid book, and I'm like, the book is good. It reminds me, actually, if you've ever read any Larry McMurtry books, like Lonesome Dove, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. It takes place in Montana or Wyoming. I think it takes place in Montana, and on a ranch. it's very interesting. The character development is great. Actually, I thought it would be like some cheesy Debbie McComber books, which if that's what you like, hey, have your deal. I get it. People love her. But like, I thought it would be like that, you know, like some cheesy kind of little romance, which it is, but the character development is pretty good. I'm actually pretty impressed with the character development in the book. But it's just not what I'm in the mood to read right now. And so I find myself like listening to 20 minutes of it and then like turning it off and listening to music. Like I don't really find myself really wanting to listen to a whole lot of it. You know what I mean? It's hard. I feel like I've accomplished a lot of the goals that I set out for myself in 2017. You know, like I really do. It's been a good year. I mean, there's been a lot of tragedy in my life. I lost my aunt. You know, like, I mean, there's not been a lot of, that was, you know, sad. I wouldn't know if I would call it a tragedy. There's, you know, that's not a tragedy. I mean, she lived a great life. My Aunt Kathy had an amazing life, you know, and I didn't want her to suffer anymore, so it was sad. It was sad to see my brother-in-law move, but he and his girlfriend are very happy in San Diego. You know, it was sad to find out that my mother-in-law is going to go to Cambodia, but, you know, like, she's very excited about it, you know, to do this mission trip. So sometimes I find sadness in things that are other people's happinesses because other people's happiness because of how I will selfishly be affected by it. It's, you know, like I think a lot of us selfishly grieve. It's like I miss my aunt, but she's not in pain anymore, and I didn't want her to be in pain anymore. I mean, she was in so much pain. I'll never forget last Christmas. Yeah, I haven't really talked about this on here because I wasn't vlogging last year at Christmas, but yeah, I'll never forget, she was sitting in my cousin's living room and she was on an oxygen tank and she had a half an hour left of oxygen and they had to get her home because she had ran through her tank, and she was like, don't worry about it, I'll be fine. And you could tell that she was kind of getting out of her head a little bit in it. And she was like, so we had to like hold her to walk outside. Well, she moved from the chair and then walked into the kitchen, and like I'm talking maybe 5 feet, and had to sit down again and rest. And then from there to the hallway and then rest. And then from the hallway to the front door and then rest. And then we like walked from there to the door of the car, and she started panicking because she couldn't get in the car and she needed to sit down. And, you know, like I think about that, like that's no way to live. And as much as I miss her because she was such an important part of my life and she made my life so amazing and beautiful, at the same time, I don't want to see anybody suffer like that, you know? So unselfishly, I have to let her go. And, you know, one of the things I've learned in my life in working with character defects is that whatever my character defects are at the moment, you know, whether they're, you know, selfishness or pride or ego or, you know, whatever, lack of patience, that my responsibility is to act out the opposite. So if I'm acting selfishly in my life, and that can even just be saying, you know, for my needs, I miss my aunt, okay? Then my responsibility to that is to act in the opposite, to act unselfishly. You know, if I'm acting impatient, you know, if I'm at the grocery store and there's 10 people in front of me and I'm like, could you hurry it up? Could you hurry it up? Then I need to do the opposite, to start practicing patience, you know? And I need to do things that will teach me patience, because the only way I'm going to learn that, the only way I'm going to get through that character defect, the only way I'm going to start acting differently is to practice the opposite of the behavior that I am engaging in, period. And so that's something that I try to do on a regular basis, you know, is to try to look at the character defects in my life, to look at these actions that I have that are not helpful to me or anybody else, and I try to do the opposites of them, you know? So if I'm being selfish, what's the opposite of selfishness? The opposite of selfishness is selflessness, you know? So, and not just with that situation, but with any situation, you know? Are there ways for me to be selfless? What are ways that I can be selfless in life, you know? Can I donate money? Can I give charity time? Can I, you know, do good for people out there other than myself, to take myself, to get me out of self, you know? Because the worst place for me to be is up in my head, you know, because then I'm all full of self and what my needs are and what I need to do. And you know what? I can't live there. I can't live there with, you know, how important Peter is, because I'm not that important in the grand scheme of things. I'm just not. And I don't mean this to sound shitty, but, you know, I say this all the time, like, each of you is important. We each of us are, but not so much that at the exclusion of other people's experience. You know what I mean? Like, we're not so important that, like, well, I'm more important than you. No, like, that's not accurate. And, you know, like, in this whole thing that I've gone through in the last week, you know, it was really important for me at times to, you know, like, say to Tanya, like, hey, like, how was your Christmas? What's going on with you? Like, what do you need from me? Like, you've been an amazing friend, you know? Let me take you out to dinner. Well, I didn't take her out to dinner, but let's go out to dinner, you know? I should have taken her out to dinner. You know, or today to Alex, we have, like, this really long conversation, you know? And I was like, I just want to thank you so much for your support. And he was like, you don't have to thank me for your support. And I go, I understand that, but you didn't ask for any of this, you know? And he's like, well, I may not have asked for any of this, but this is what I signed on to when I married you. Just like, you know, I have difficulties that you signed on to. And he was like, that's what we're a team. That's what we're here for, you know? And he's going through some stuff with his friend. And so, you know, I sat there today, and my husband is an amazing human being, and as joking and sarcastic as he comes across in videos and live streams and things, you know, he sat at the hospital this morning from like 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock in the evening, sat there while his friend had tests done all day long because she asked him to be present with her, and he just sat there and didn't do anything all day long, you know, because that's the kind of person that he is. And he never once, I would never say this in his presence because he would be the most humble person about it. Never once did he ever think twice about doing it. Like, oh, well, I've got things going on that day, or I can't do it, or, I mean, he didn't even say to me, like, oh, she asked to go to the hospital, like, I don't know if I can be there the whole day, or whatever. He said, she asked me to go to the hospital, I'm going to be there with her. Like, I strive to be that person, you know? I've learned so much from my husband through the years. I'll never forget, and I've talked about this on here, the first birthday that we had, birthday party, and he invited like 42 people to this birthday party at this like pool, this outside pool club, and called Rehab. Not the one in Las Vegas, it was in Indianapolis at the time. And it was Father's Day weekend, and it was on a Saturday, so it wasn't Father's Day, but a lot of people were doing stuff with their dads that day, and only 4 people showed up. And I said to him, I said, aren't you, like, when we left, and he had a good time, I said, aren't you so pissed that only 4 people showed up? You know, like, isn't that so telling of who really cares about you? And he looked at me, and I'll never forget this, he said, I'd rather focus on the 4 people that showed up than the 38 that didn't. Like, you know, like, it meant a lot to me that those 4 people even came. I didn't expect that anybody would come, you know? And I think that's interesting that his expectations, you know, are like, hey, if even one person shows up, you know, it's a party. And he's amazing that way, you know? He never complains. He never bitches and moans about stuff, you know? It's just, this is life, and what are we going to do to deal with it, you know? My camera keeps on shutting off. I don't know what's going on, you guys. I'm real frustrated with it. Anyway, I'm like way out in the country. I drove like the same place I drove last night, but I'm like driving even farther out. And what I love is, it reminds me of my Aunt Janny's farm that I used to go to in the summers. It's like a house, like way back, and then you don't see anything for miles. It's just like fields and fields and fields. And this is really what the Midwest looks like, and I kind of love it. I used to love staying there in the summers, and you could hear the interstate way off in the distance. I think I was too young to realize how scary it would be. I don't know that I could live there today, you know? Like, that house even looks just like my Aunt Janny's house, like, exactly. I'd be like, is that my Aunt Janny's house? Yeah, if I was 2 hours north. Isn't that so funny that my aunt's name is Janny? Like, her real name is Jan, but, like, everybody calls her Janny. Like, I don't think I've ever met another Janny in my entire life. I don't really think I ever have. Isn't that so funny? I've been thinking a lot about my booktube channel and what I want to do with it in 2018. I mean, I don't want to do anything different with it, but there are some things I want to do. I think I'm going to read a classic every month. And I think, like, I want to do more reading clubs on there. Oh my God, this house is so pretty out here. It's got all these lights on it. This farmhouse. They're upstairs. They're all cozy. You can see the TV light going off in the window. I love that. They're probably all cozied in there watching some Christmas movie, even though Christmas is over. You know how I told you that I wanted to see the Star Wars movies? Every single one of them is for free on demand right now. I was like, if this is not a sign that I am supposed to watch these movies, I don't know what is. Oh my God. Oh, I'm tired. And it's not late at all. It's 12:45. I just got in my car at like 11:30. I want to watch all those Star Wars movies, though. I want to at least see the first three and say I've seen those. But they all, like, end on the first. Like, I have to watch them before the first, so. I have 5 hours left in my book. Well, at 2 times speed, that's like 2.5 hours. Or do I have 8 hours left in my book? I have 8 hours, and that's 4 hours, which means Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I've got to listen to like an hour and a half a day to get it done by the new year. I can do that. Somebody asked me earlier, I guess I kept on getting this question in my live stream tonight. They asked me, what is your favorite musical? And I always forget a chorus line, but I love that musical. And I love the movie. The movie is so good, isn't it? I can do that. Do you guys remember that movie? I remember my friend and I went and saw that movie like a million times, like when it came out. I must have been like 6th grade. I wanted to be like on Broadway. I so did. Maybe I'll see if I can find that movie. You know, I started a list of movies that I want to rewatch in my life. I gotta turn around. I am so far out. I don't even know where I'm at. What is this little church here? What does the church sign say? We'll read it. Best Christmas gift of all is waiting for you inside, it says. I haven't been to a Christmas service at church in so long. I almost went this year. Like, I was going to see if they had any daytime, because Christmas Eve I can't go, because I could have gone on Christmas Day, I guess, but Christmas Eve I couldn't go because we have Christmas. I wanted to go like to a late service. I'd like to go to an all hymn service is what I would like to do. But since we have our Christmas so late with Alex's family, I couldn't do that. And so then I was like, well, I wonder if there's any Christmas services at like 5. So I was going to do that, but I just didn't plan ahead for it. So, oh well, there's always next year. I think that might be one of my goals for next year is to go to a Christmas service. Alex's stepbrother died exactly almost a year ago to the day. I think it was yesterday, to the day yesterday. And it was the 27th, I think. And he had been sick for a really long time. It was so sad. He was such a nice guy. He had all kinds of medical problems, and he had some kind of cancer. And anyway, we went to, if you're from Indianapolis, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's a church on the square, like, or the circle. So downtown Indianapolis has this circle that's all built around this monument. And they turn it into a Christmas tree every year. But there's this church on the circle, and it's like 100 years old. It's this small little church, and it's called Christ Church Cathedral. And it's beautiful. And when you go inside at Christmas time, I'll never forget this funeral. It's not a Catholic service. I can't remember what the service is, but they do incense as well. Maybe Episcopalian, I can't remember. But anyway, they do the incense as well. the entire church, which is 100 years old and is all this wood, it's gorgeous, like dark wood and stained glass windows, they had real garland, like, you know, like pine garland everywhere in this church, like all the way down the aisles, and they had it like really low lit with candles. It was absolutely the most, it was a celebration of life. I mean, it was a funeral, but it was beautiful. It was so beautiful, and they sang some of the most amazing hymns, and it just was one of the neatest services I've ever been to in my entire life. And I'm not somebody that really loves church services, honestly, and I don't have anything against them, you know, but like, I just don't find a whole lot spiritual in them a lot, you know, because my spirituality is outside of that. So I grew up going to church, you know, I grew up being very involved in the church, and when I decided that, like, that wasn't like where I found spirituality, it wasn't inside of a church, and I don't dislike going to church, I just didn't get anything out of it, you know. I got more out of it from, you know, driving down the road with the wind in my hair, listening to some Bob Dylan song. You know, that felt more spiritual to me than that. And, you know, and thank God I had parents that respected that and said, go search out your own spiritual higher power. Like, that's your business, you know, and as long as it's not dark, you know, as long as it's something positive in your life, why would we ever keep you from that, you know? And so that really helped me when I got sober and had to find a higher power, you know, and I really, like, took a lot of pieces from, you know, Buddhism and, you know, Native American wisdom and Christianity and, you know, Judaism, all of it. I picked up pieces from almost all world religions, and basically I found that the fundamentals of that are love, compassion, and kindness and understanding, you know, and that's how I truly try to live my life today. So, I don't know, but anyway, I loved the service. It was beautiful, and I thought, this is so perfect as a funeral service for somebody. It was so beautiful. It so sang of his soul, you know? He was such a neat guy. And he was part of a drum circle, and so they drummed at the service. It was very cool. And, you know, it was a really neat service. And I love when I go to funerals and they speak of the person, you know, like they really speak to the person and who the person is. And I think this service was actually on New Year's Eve. Yeah, I think he died on the 27th, and it was on New Year's Eve, the service. But it's weird to think that was a year ago. God, it seems like, I mean, honestly, it feels like it was just like last week. So I guess that's where I say that, like, this year has seemed like it's gone slow, like not fast, you know? It's like over there's like hill, and there's all these houses on it, and it's like, you can see like the lights sparkling through the trees. I love that. I love driving way out in the country and just seeing these houses and like wondering who lives there, and you can see the TV, like the blue of the TV, like, you know, in the window, and like wondering like if they're laying in there, and if it's some like grandma and she's like, you know, 70 and she's watching some old movie while she's laying in bed all cozy for the night with her dog and cat at their feet, you know. That's the kind of world that I like to imagine, you know, a gentle place like that. Safe places of the world. It's weird to think that, you know, like when I watch these like murder shows, or when I watch that show, remember I got obsessed with that TV show called Gone, The Forgotten Women of Ohio. It's weird when you think about that like small town America sometimes has like those like dark things, but at the same time it has like some of the like safest places, you know, like we think of small town America being that way, but then like we also know that like small town America is like crystal meth America, you know, or like heroin America, where girls are, you know, hooking on the street where you can't even see them for, you know, heroin. And that's true, like that's really out there, you know, like that show, if you weren't here for my vlog when I was talking about that show, I became obsessed with it. It was so fantastic. It was done so well. It's called Gone, The Forgotten Women of Ohio, and it was a series they did on TV. You can still go and watch it. It was so well done. And, I mean, scary stuff, you know, to see, like, who all is, like, I wonder if they'll bring that show back when they find out what happened. You know, it's very much to me like The Keepers. Like, somebody was asking me tonight about The Keepers, and I remember, God, I've talked about all kinds of things in this vlog this year. Remember when I was watching The Keepers? I loved that documentary. I mean, I loved it because it was intriguing. I didn't love the topic of it. But, like, it really showed that you don't, like... these hidden secrets, like craziness. And I love those two women that were like, had been students of hers. You remember that? And they were like, oh my God, we're going to find out what happened. They were like, they were willing to do whatever it took. So, yeah. Go watch The Keepers if you haven't seen it. I think they're coming out with a sequel to Making of a Murderer to show what's happening now. That'll be interesting, don't you think? Well, all right, you guys, I'm going to end this now. I don't really know. Oh, my God, that yellow light just came on. I guess that's a hint. It's time to get off. Because I don't know how long I'll vlog tomorrow. I'll try to vlog for longer. You guys, I've made some vlogs that have been an hour long. Are those irritating to you guys? Do you hate the hour-long vlogs? I sometimes don't know when they're that long. So, like, right now, I have, like, 4 pieces to this, so I have no idea how long it'll really be. But I think about probably 20 or 30 minutes, so it'll be a little bit shorter vlog. But I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. 3 more days. Bye.